Carl Jung once said, "The path to wholeness begins with inner chaos." Are you feeling detached from the life you once knew? Like the things that used to define you no longer fit? Deep inside, a quiet voice urges you forward, whispering, "Keep moving." What if this turmoil is not a sign of being lost, but a signal of transformation? A confirmation that you're not breaking down, you're breaking through. Jung, a pioneer of the psyche, mapped the soul's journey to awakening. If you're noticing these signs, your soul is stirring. The pain of awakening begins when your inner shadow emerges. The journey doesn't start with clarity or peace. Instead, it feels like confusion, a heavy heart, or a restless discomfort with the life you once accepted. Jung would argue this isn't failure, it's the spark of transformation. In his teachings, this inner unrest signals the awakening of your consciousness. You're beginning to encounter what Jung called the shadow, not a villain, but the hidden truths you've yet to face. It's not about being broken, it's about becoming aware. The shadow isn't just anger, fear, or shame, though it holds those too. Jung saw it as the unacknowledged parts of you, emotions, desires, or truths you've pushed away. The danger lies not in the shadow itself, but in ignoring it. When you feel overwhelmed, when your heart and mind pull in opposite directions, it's your unconscious calling for attention. This often shows up as a crisis, a lost job, a strained relationship, or a sudden wave of existential questioning. The life you knew starts to fracture. It's not destruction, it's the birth of awareness. Your ego, the part of you that clings to control, realizes it's not the only voice in your psyche. One clear sign you're on this path is when your old life feels like a stranger's. The group chats you once loved feel shallow. The 9-to-5 routine that once grounded you now feels like a cage. This isn't a flaw in you, it's the shedding of a false self, the layers built to please others or fit in. Jung taught that when the persona, the mask we wear for the world, starts to crack, the authentic self begins to emerge. That process is painful. Awakening often feels like loss at first because you're letting go of the parts of you that were never truly yours. Inner conflict becomes a sign of growth. Another key indicator is the war within. You feel torn between who you were and who you're becoming. The old you craves safety and approval, while the new you yearns for truth and freedom. Jung believed growth comes from this tension between opposites. If you're caught in this struggle, don't flee. It's proof you're alive and evolving. Jung once wrote, "In every chaos, there's a hidden order. That order is your transformation. The pain you feel is a guide, not a punishment. The ego's collapse isn't your end, it's the beginning of something deeper." Many on this path fear their unraveling, but Jung would say it's the ego, not you, that's being reshaped. The ego is just a surface layer, not your core. As it breaks, your deeper self, what Jung called the self with a capital S, starts to shine through. It feels like death, but it's the death of illusion. This is why spiritual awakenings often begin with pain. The false must fall before the real can rise. If your world feels like it's crumbling, keep going. You're crossing a threshold. Emotions you buried, grief from childhood, suppressed anger, or unspoken fears begin to surface. This isn't weakness. It's your psyche clearing space for growth. Let these feelings flow. They're not here to harm you. They're here to heal you. Your dreams may also shift, becoming vivid and symbolic. Jung called dreams the royal road to the unconscious. You might dream of falling, flying, or wandering lost. These aren't random. They're your psyche speaking. Falling reflects a loss of control. Flying signals freedom. Being lost mirrors inner disorientation. Write these dreams down. Reflect on their meaning. They're a map of your transformation. You may also notice a heightened sensitivity to truth. Lies, whether from others or yourself, become unbearable. You feel drained by toxic people or shallow interactions. Jung described this as your intuitive self-awakening, guiding you through resonance, not just logic. Jung said, "Consciousness comes with pain. This discomfort isn't a flaw, it's a rite of passage. If you feel lost in the dark, you're in a sacred in-between space, no longer who you were, but not yet who you'll be." This is the cocoon of transformation, sacred isolation. You've changed and it's noticeable. Friends drift away, family feels distant, your partner might say you're not you anymore. You feel unseen in crowds or out of place in familiar circles. This isn't failure, it's your soul shifting inward. Jung called this individuation the journey to your true self. It often begins with a pull away from the crowd, not because you're above others, but because your soul craves depth. You're losing resonance with old patterns. Small talk feels empty. Drama no longer pulls you in. This is awakening, not arrogance. Jung believed we're all tied to a collective unconscious, shared cultural norms and instincts. As you awaken, you detach from these, craving authenticity over fitting in. This can lead to isolation, but it's sacred. Like Jesus in the desert or Buddha under the Bodhi tree, solitude is where truth speaks loudest. In this quiet, you hear your inner voice. You journal, reflect, or sit in silence, not to escape, but to connect. Not everyone will walk this path with you. Jung taught that relationships built on old roles, being the helper, the jokester, the peacemaker, may fade as you grow. This isn't loss, it's alignment. When others say you've changed, they're right. You're not leaving them, you're finding yourself. Misunderstanding becomes a mirror, showing how far you've come. You can't stay in spaces that demand your silence or inauthenticity. Letting go isn't betrayal, it's courage. Loneliness and aloneness are different. Loneliness craves external approval. Aloneness is communion with your soul. In solitude, you meet yourself. You might crave quiet walks, meditation, or time under the stars. This isn't withdrawal. It's your soul demanding presence. As you deepen, you stop needing others to understand. Jung said, true individuation brings inner authority. You trust your path so fully that others' doubts don't shake you. This is freedom. The ego's need for validation fades, and your soul finds peace in being misunderstood. Part 3. You can't pretend anymore. The mask you've worn to fit in, to please, to survive becomes unbearable. You can't fake a smile or stay silent to keep the peace. Jung saw the ego as the surface self, managing your social image, but it's not your truth. When you can't pretend, it's not weakness. It's the deeper self emerging. The persona, your curated self, starts to crack. You might stumble in conversations or feel your body resist inauthenticity. This isn't dysfunction, it's your shadow pushing for truth. The ego's collapse feels chaotic, but it's sacred. You question your job, your beliefs, even your identity. The ego fights back, whispering you're failing. But Jung would say, you're being liberated. You're not losing yourself, you're shedding illusions. You stop caring about being seen as perfect or successful. Jung taught that individuation begins when you say, I don't know who I am anymore. You stop performing and start revealing. Emotional honesty becomes essential. Your body rejects lies, and truth becomes your foundation. Old roles, the overachiever, the caretaker, the people pleaser, exhaust you. They were survival tools, not your essence. You walk away from dynamics that demand conformity. Saying no becomes an act of truth, even if it unsettles others. Part 4. Synchronicities spark. You notice patterns, repeating numbers like 111 on clocks or license plates, a stranger mentioning a book you were just thinking about, or a song answering a question in your heart. These aren't random, they're synchronicities, Jung's term for meaningful coincidences. Synchronicities signal alignment between your inner and outer worlds. Jung believed the psyche and reality are connected. What happens outside mirrors what's shifting inside. During transformation, these signs increase, like winks from the universe saying, you're on the right path. Symbols start appearing, cardinals when you need hope, a butterfly during change. Jung saw these as the language of the unconscious, speaking through imagery. Pay attention to what repeats, it's your psyche reaching out. Dreams may also blend with reality, echoing waking life. The more you trust these signs, the more they appear. Jung noted that openness to symbolic meaning amplifies synchronicities, not as commands, but as confirmations. They're not a map, but milestones, affirming you're aligned with your soul's journey. Part 5. A hunger for meaning. Superficial things, reality TV, social media, office gossip, no longer satisfy. You feel a void, not from boredom, but from awakening. Jung believed humans crave meaning, not just survival. Once this hunger stirs, nothing shallow fills it. Success, status, or likes used to matter. Now they feel empty. You achieve a goal, yet feel unfulfilled. Jung called this the collapse of false gods. Your soul outgrows society's script, craving something deeper. Existential questions arise. Why am I here? What's my purpose? These questions aren't weakness, they're evolution. Shallow talk drains you. You crave raw, honest connection. You're drawn to wisdom, philosophy, spirituality, or stories of the human spirit. This isn't a phase, it's your soul remembering its mythic roots. You find peace in stillness, journaling, nature, or quiet rituals. Jung saw these as sacred acts where the psyche breathes. Your life starts to feel like a story with patterns of loss, growth, and rebirth. You lean into depth, unafraid of what lies beneath. Part 6. Dreams guide you. Your dreams grow vivid, strange, or emotional. Jung called them the soul's language, revealing truths your conscious mind can't yet grasp. Recurring dreams emphasize unaddressed lessons, relationships, fears, or conflicts you need to face. Nightmares aren't punishment, they're invitations to meet your shadow. Being chased might mean avoiding truth. Drowning could reflect emotional overwhelm. Write them down, ask what they're teaching. Waking with new clarity or unease is your psyche shifting. Symbols in dreams, a house for your psyche, a snake for transformation, become your new language. Your dream life informs your waking life, guiding decisions or revealing truths. You live in two worlds, the conscious and unconscious, now in conversation. Part 7. Courage in loss. Awakening demands letting go of roles, relationships, or dreams that no longer fit. Jung saw this as ego death, not destruction, but liberation. The ego clings to safety. The soul seeks truth, even when it's scary. Losing people hurts, but it's not failure, it's alignment. You can't stay in spaces that demand a smaller you. Jung taught that individuation detaches you from collective norms, even family or friends. Let them go with love and let yourself rise. Fear doesn't mean you're lost, it means you're stepping into the unknown. Jung wrote, "Boldness frees us from fear." When you feel like you're losing everything, you're gaining your true self. Grief over old dreams is sacred. It's the death of a life you were told to want. You're not alone, even in solitude. You're part of a timeless journey, like countless others who've walked this path. Keep going, despite the fear. That persistence is proof of your soul's strength, guiding you toward wholeness. Part 8. The higher self emerges. You sense a quiet presence guiding you. Not ego, but the self, what Jung called the core of your wholeness. You no longer need roles to define you. The achiever, the helper, the star. They were costumes, not your essence. You stop chasing approval and start seeking alignment. Decisions come from your gut, not the crowd. Jung said the self unites opposites, light and shadow, strength and vulnerability. You hold paradox, feeling both lost and grounded, small yet infinite. The need to prove yourself fades. You don't argue or perform. You live your truth. You trust life's timing, surrendering to its flow, not from weakness, but wisdom. The world feels connected, not random. Obstacles become lessons, wounds become callings. The most powerful sign is feeling the sacred within, not in a temple or a book, but in you, a spark of the divine. You feel awe, connection, or tears without reason. Jung called this a numinous experience, where the self touches the eternal. If you see these signs, chaos, isolation, truth, synchronicities, depth, dreams, courage, or the self, know this: you're not lost, you're awakening. Jung said, "Your vision becomes clear when you look into your heart." Keep going, even when it's hard. This path is sacred. Thank you for joining this journey into your soul's awakening. If this resonated, pause and reflect. What signs are you noticing in your life? Share your story in the comments, like this video, and subscribe to explore more of your inner world. You're not alone. Your soul is leading you home.